The Iron Will of Earth, how humanity unleashed its fury to overthrow the alien dominion. The sky burned with the glow of alien ships, their sleek forms blotting out the stars as they descended upon Earth. Their invasion was swift, brutal, and unrelenting. In a matter of days, the once thriving cities of the world crumbled beneath the weight of their advanced weaponry. The aliens, known as the Karen, were a race of towering, metallic beings, their cold eyes reflecting a deep disdain for humanity. They believed their conquest of Earth was inevitable, a mere formality in the grand scheme of their galactic empire. For years, humanity had watched as the Karen spread their dominion across the stars, subjugating lesser civilizations with ease. When the Karen arrived on Earth, they assumed the same would happen here. However, they underestimated one crucial thing: the iron will of humanity. It was not just the resilience of the human spirit that gave hope. It was the sheer adaptability and resourcefulness that humans possessed. The Karen had expected to encounter primitive resistance, but what they found instead was a world that fought not just with weapons but with a determination born from the very essence of survival. In the early days of the invasion, most of Earth's governments had been wiped out. Cities fell, military installations crumbled, and the global economy collapsed into chaos. However, as the Karen sought to enforce their rule, something unexpected happened. Humanity, scattered and broken, began to unite. It started in the underground bunkers of resistance cells, where survivors banded together not just to survive but to fight back. The first signs of resistance were small but powerful: raids on supply lines, sabotage of alien technology, and the reclamation of key strongholds. The Karen, though technologically superior, had never encountered an enemy so stubborn, so unwilling to bend to their will. The human spirit was a force they could not calculate. Across the globe, scattered groups of survivors began to form a network. They traded knowledge, resources, and tactics, sharing the lessons learned from each battle. Scientists, engineers, and military strategists, once separated by borders and ideologies, now worked as one, pooling their knowledge to develop new weapons capable of striking at the heart of the Karen's advanced technology. The turning point came when a group of scientists discovered a weakness in the Karen's energy core, the very source that powered their ships and weapons. It was an energy system based on a rare element from their home planet, one that was unstable under certain conditions. Armed with this knowledge, humanity launched a daring offensive, coordinating their attacks with precision. They targeted the Karen's supply chains, striking at the energy core and destabilizing the alien fleet's power grid. The effects were devastating. With their ships grounded and their weapons disabled, the Karen were forced into a desperate defense. However, humanity had already begun to gather its full strength. Local militias became organized armies, and the ragtag resistance became an unstoppable force, driven by the desire to reclaim their planet. The Karen underestimated the depth of human resolve. As the Karen forces retreated, humanity seized the opportunity. The global network of resistance cells turned into a unified front, attacking the alien strongholds with a ferocity born from years of oppression. The world's greatest minds, working together, had crafted weapons of incredible power: lasers, plasma-based explosives, and electromagnetic pulses that crippled the remaining alien technology. Even humanity's ordinary citizens, who had once been in hiding, stepped up, fighting with everything they had. In the final battle, the Karen's remaining fleet, now weakened and scattered, made one last stand over Earth's skies. But the humans, with their newly forged alliances and innovations, were ready. The skies erupted with fire as human fighters, piloted by both trained military veterans and brave civilians, engaged the Karen in a battle that would echo through the stars. When the dust settled, humanity had emerged victorious. The Karen, their fleet shattered and their forces decimated, had no choice but to flee, retreating back to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Earth, battered but unbowed, stood as a testament to the power of human resolve. The alien dominion had been overthrown, not by superior technology, but by the indomitable will of a species who refused to surrender. The victory was not just a triumph of force, but a statement to the universe: humanity would never be a victim. The Karen might have underestimated the Earth once, but they had learned the hard way that the true strength of humanity lay not in the weapons they wielded, but in the heart of every human who stood ready to fight for their world. And so, the iron will of Earth had shattered the alien dominion, And humanity had proven that no matter the odds, it could rise from the ashes of defeat, ready to face any challenge the cosmos could throw its way. The aftermath, a new dawn for humanity. As the smoke of battle cleared and the stars once again shimmered overhead, Earth was left to pick up the pieces. The Karen invasion had not only taken a physical toll but had also left deep psychological scars. Cities were in ruins, ecosystems were damaged, and millions of lives were lost. Yet, amid the devastation, something extraordinary was unfolding, a renewed sense of unity and purpose. The world had been irrevocably changed by the invasion, but it was also reshaped by the courage and resilience displayed by its people. Nations that had once been fractured by centuries of conflict found themselves standing together, their old divisions rendered meaningless in the face of a common enemy. The borders that had once separated nations now seemed like distant memories, as humanity looked forward to rebuilding and defending its future as one. The first step was restoring order and governance. The United Nations, once a mere symbol of cooperation, became the foundation of a new global council. Heads of state from every surviving nation came together, not to claim power, but to ensure that the mistakes of the past would never be repeated. They formed an interplanetary defense alliance, preparing for the day when the Karen, or any other hostile race, might return. Humanity had learned that peace was not guaranteed. It had to be fought for. While Earth's leadership began the long process of recovery, humanity's scientific community rose to prominence. The knowledge and technology stolen from the Karen during the conflict were invaluable. Scientists and engineers, many of whom had once worked in secret underground labs, now shared their findings with the world. The Karen's advanced energy sources, propulsion systems, and bioengineering breakthroughs became the cornerstone of a new technological age on Earth. One of the greatest achievements was the development of the Iron Shield, a defense system capable of protecting Earth from future invasions. Using Karen technology combined with Earth's innovations, the Iron Shield created an impenetrable layer of energy fields that surrounded the planet. This network not only protected Earth from potential alien threats but also allowed humanity to begin exploring and colonizing other worlds, with plans for interstellar peacekeeping operations already in the works. The societal shift was profound. The resistance fighters, who had once been seen as rebels and outcasts, became the heroes and leaders of the new world. Veterans who had fought in the trenches were now teaching the next generation the art of defense and survival. Humanity's youth, inspired by the heroics of the older generation, took on the mantle of innovation, creating new technologies and ideas to shape a more unified and prosperous future. But the victory over the Karen came with a price. The memories of the invasion were not easily erased. Many families lost loved ones, and countless cities remained in ruins. The task of rebuilding was monumental. In the aftermath, there were those who questioned whether humanity could maintain its newfound unity, or if the scars of the past would fracture the fragile peace. In an effort to honor those who had fallen, the leaders of Earth called for a grand memorial, a monument to the resistance, a symbol of Earth's indomitable will. It stood in the heart of what was once New York City, a towering spire made from the remains of alien technology, fused with the iron and steel that humanity had used to fight back. The memorial was not just a monument to the fallen, it was a testament to the power of the human spirit, to the unyielding will that had driven Earth to victory against an unimaginable foe. As the years passed, Earth's role in the galaxy evolved. The Iron Shield became the cornerstone of a new galactic alliance, one in which humanity played a key role in fostering peace among civilizations. Earth's history of overcoming the Karen invasion was told far and wide, inspiring countless other worlds to resist subjugation and oppression. Yet, despite their victory, Earth remained vigilant. The threat of alien dominance was never far from their minds, and the scars of the Karen War remained fresh in the hearts of humanity's leaders. The iron will of Earth was not merely a historical account, it was a living, breathing philosophy that guided every decision made in the years that followed. Humanity had learned a hard lesson, that no matter how advanced an enemy may seem, the true strength of a species lies not in its technology, but in its will to fight, to survive, and to overcome. Earth had faced the might of an alien empire and emerged victorious. But the war had also taught humanity that peace was a fragile thing, earned only through vigilance and unity. And so, with the stars as their backdrop, humanity prepared to face whatever future challenges awaited. The iron will of Earth, tempered in the fires of war, had become an unshakable foundation, a promise that Earth would never again be a world conquered, but a beacon of hope and resistance to any who sought to bring them down. The universe now knew that humanity's fury was not to be underestimated, and Earth, though scarred, stood ready to defend its future. The iron will of Earth had not just overthrown an alien dominion, it had forged a new destiny among the stars. The rise of the Starborn, humanity's expansion beyond the Earth. The victory over the Karen had only been the beginning. Earth, once teetering on the brink of annihilation, was now a world that had proven its strength. But humanity was not content to rest on its laurels. The stars beckoned, and humanity, driven by the same relentless spirit that had overthrown the Karen, set its sights on expanding beyond Earth. The dream of exploring the cosmos, once a distant fantasy, had become a tangible reality. With the Iron Shield protecting Earth from any immediate threats, human civilization began to focus on space exploration. The Karen's technology, though vastly different from Earth's, had been carefully studied and adapted to humanity's needs. The most significant leap forward came with the development of the Starborn Drive, a faster-than-light propulsion system derived from Karen energy technology. It allowed humanity to venture beyond the solar system, traveling to distant stars in a matter of weeks rather than decades. Humanity's first colonies were established on nearby planets and moons, where resources were abundant and conditions were suitable for terraforming. Mars, once a barren wasteland, became the first bastion of humanity's expansion into the cosmos. Its red sands, now teeming with human life, became a symbol of human ingenuity and perseverance. Terraforming projects began in earnest, transforming the inhospitable world into a vibrant, thriving environment for Earth's growing population. But it wasn't just Mars that beckoned. The moons of Jupiter and Saturn, once distant and uninhabitable, were transformed into industrial hubs and agricultural centers. Human colonies flourished in the outer reaches of the solar system, each one a testament to humanity's adaptability and unyielding drive. As Earth and its colonies began to establish their foothold in the solar system, humanity set its sights on the stars. The discovery of alien life, particularly in the form of the peaceful Trellis, an advanced race of beings encountered on a distant planet, opened up a new chapter in human history. The Trellis were initially wary of humanity, having heard rumors of the Karen invasion and Earth's fierce defense. But as they witnessed humanity's resilience and desire for peaceful cooperation, they extended a hand of friendship. The Trellis introduced humanity to the broader galactic community, a vast and diverse collection of civilizations spanning hundreds of worlds. The Karen's empire had been a relic of an ancient, aggressive past, but the Trellis represented a new era, one of peaceful coexistence and cooperation. However, the Trellis were not the only race in the galaxy. There were other factions, some peaceful, others less so, that made up the galactic order. Humanity's arrival on the galactic stage was met with curiosity and caution. Some species welcomed Earth's fresh perspective, while others viewed humanity's rise with suspicion. The Karen, though defeated, were not entirely gone. The remnants of their empire still existed in distant corners of the galaxy, and the Karen themselves, though defeated, were not entirely helpless. They had retreated into the shadows, but many of their warlords and commanders still plotted, seeking revenge against the humans who had dared to challenge their supremacy. One such warlord, High Commander Vexer, a Karen general who had once led the invasion of Earth, began rallying the scattered Karen forces in secret. He believed that the defeat was not the end, but a setback, one that could be undone. Vexer, driven by a thirst for vengeance, sought to restore the Karen Empire to its former glory and claimed Earth as the ultimate prize. With a vast network of loyalists and remnants of the Karen fleet, he began planning a new invasion, one that would catch humanity off guard. But Earth had learned from the past. The victory over the Karen had not only shaped humanity's future but also left it more prepared for the challenges of the stars. The Galactic Defense Network, built in part on the Iron Shield, now included a coalition of species, human, Trellis, and others dedicated to peace, security, and mutual cooperation. The Starborn, as they were now called, the brave pioneers who had ventured beyond Earth, were a growing force in the galaxy. They had the experience, the knowledge, and most importantly, the will to defend their new way of life. The United Galactic Alliance, UGA, was born from this coalition, a governing body that spanned multiple star systems. Though young and still in its infancy, the UGA was committed to preventing any form of imperial conquest, especially one that might repeat the tragedy humanity had faced. Earth, with its history of survival and rebellion, quickly rose to prominence within this alliance, becoming a cornerstone of the new galactic order. The Karen, now scattered and divided, realized that a new war with Earth would not be an easy feat. Vexor, realizing the growing strength of humanity and its allies, knew that a direct confrontation would be disastrous. Instead, he began to seek allies among the galaxy's more hostile factions, raiders, mercenaries, and other disgruntled civilizations who had long sought to undermine the peace the UGA was building. In the meantime, the Starborn, led by Earth's finest military strategists and explorers, continued to expand their reach. They explored new star systems, discovered ancient artifacts left behind by vanished civilizations, and forged new alliances. The technological advances made in the wake of the Karen War had given humanity a significant edge in its expansion, and Earth's voice began to carry weight among the stars. Yet, the shadow of the Karen warlord Vexor loomed large, a reminder that peace could be fleeting. The rise of the Starborn was a victory for humanity, but their greatest challenge was still ahead. Would the unity they had forged on Earth survive the trials of galactic politics? Would their determination, once proven in battle, be enough to withstand the growing threats in the cosmos? The story of humanity had come full circle, from an Earth ravaged by alien invaders to a thriving force among the stars. But the war for the future had only just begun. Humanity's iron will, tested on Earth's soil, was now a banner under which the entire galaxy would stand. The Starborn, fueled by the lessons of their past, were ready to face whatever the universe had in store. The fight for peace was far from over, but humanity had learned one undeniable truth: it was no longer just Earth's fight. The iron will of Earth had transcended its home planet, and now, it would protect the stars. The galactic confrontation, the dawn of a new war. The tranquil peace that had briefly settled across the galaxy after humanity's victory over the Karens soon proved to be an illusion. Beneath the surface of this newfound unity, tensions simmered. The United Galactic Alliance, UGA, had become a force to be reckoned with, but it had also drawn the ire of factions who feared the growing power of Earth and its allies. Among the most dangerous of these was Vexor, the Karen warlord who had survived the invasion and rallied remnants of the Karen Empire and other disgruntled races to his cause. Vexor's campaign was not one of brute force, but of manipulation and cunning. Using the scars of past conflicts, he sowed division among the galactic powers. Many smaller, less advanced species, still recovering from past invasions, found themselves swayed by his promises of power and revenge against the human oppressors. Others, feeling threatened by the rapid rise of Earth and its allies, joined his cause out of fear that the UGA would become the new hegemonic power of the galaxy. Vexor knew the Karen could not win a direct battle with Earth or the UGA. The remnants of his fleet were small and scattered, and his forces lacked the technological superiority they once enjoyed. But the warlord's true strength lay in his ability to unite fractured factions with a singular goal: to crush the growing influence of the UGA and, most importantly, to avenge the defeat of the Karen Empire on Earth. Vexor's first move was subtle, launching covert operations to destabilize UGA-controlled worlds. It started with cyber attacks on critical infrastructure, sabotaging mining colonies, and spreading misinformation among the general populace. These attacks, while not catastrophic on their own, were designed to create distrust and fear. Within months, some sectors of the UGA began to question its unity, and rebellious factions emerged within its borders. As tensions rose, humanity's leadership, now firmly entrenched as a central pillar of the UGA, recognized the growing threat posed by the Karen insurgency. Earth's leadership, including the former resistance heroes who had fought in the Karen War, now had to navigate the complexities of interstellar diplomacy, all while preparing for the possibility of open conflict. In response to Vexor's covert war, the UGA mobilized its fleets. The Starborn, humanity's most experienced fighters and explorers, were called upon to form the vanguard of the UGA's defensive forces. These brave men and women, once thought of as mere survivors of a lost war, were now becoming legends in their own right, warriors who would defend the peace they had fought so hard to establish. However, Vexor's reach extended far beyond the Karen remnants. He had made alliances with a number of other alien species that had their own reasons to resist the growing power of the UGA. The Zorith, a reptilian race known for their brutal tactics and extensive slave trade, had long been a thorn in the side of the galaxy's peaceful races. The Xora, a mysterious insectoid species, were drawn to the promises of expansion and conquest, eager to conquer new worlds to feed their endless hunger. Even some former allies of the UGA, who had once helped in the defeat of the Karen, now saw an opportunity to carve out their own empires in the galaxy's chaotic future. The galaxy, once teetering on the edge of peace, now found itself at the brink of war once more. The first battle of the Starborn, a test of humanity's resolve. The first major conflict of this new war came unexpectedly, on the fringes of the Seldar Nebula, a region of space that had been a hotspot of intergalactic trade and exploration. The Zorith, emboldened by Vexor's influence, attacked a UGA mining colony on the edge of UGA-controlled space. Their forces were swift and brutal, overwhelming the defenders with sheer numbers and firepower. The Zorith were known for their viciousness, and they had made it clear that their goal was not just to defeat humanity, but to eradicate the UGA's influence from the galaxy entirely. The Starborn were among the first to respond, and what followed was a brutal battle among the stars. The Starborn's advanced technology, learned from years of battling the Karen, allowed them to turn the tide in the early stages. Their fighters, sleek and efficient, took on the Zorith's massive warships, engaging in dogfights that would become legends in their own right. The battle in the Seldar Nebula raged for days, with humanity's forces pushing the Zorith back and retaking the mining colony, but at great cost. The victory, though hard-won, served as a rallying cry for the galaxy. The UGA, led by Earth's representatives, called for a unified response to the growing threats. However, as they celebrated their victory, they knew the battle was far from over. The forces of Vexor had only just begun to move, and the galaxy was on the precipice of all-out war. The rise of the Shadow War. While the UGA prepared for open conflict, a darker, more insidious war was unfolding in the shadows. Vexor's spies, skilled in subterfuge, began to target the political leaders of the UGA. They infiltrated government halls, turning once strong alliances into fragile partnerships. A campaign of misinformation, sabotage, and assassination began to erode the UGA's internal unity. Even the once solid relationships between Earth and its allies began to fracture, as factions within the UGA saw opportunities for power in the chaos. The Shadow War, as it would come to be known, would last for years. It was a war fought not with fleets of ships, but with whispers in darkened corridors, with the subtle shifting of allegiances, and with the quiet assassination of leaders who were too idealistic to be useful in Vexor's eyes. The Starborn, still the shining hope of humanity, became key players in this covert conflict. Their skills in both combat and intelligence gathering made them invaluable. Though they continued to fight the larger battles, they also took on missions to infiltrate and root out Vexor's agents within the UGA. Some of the greatest minds and leaders of Earth, including former resistance heroes, now found themselves leading these shadow campaigns, torn between their ideals and the cold, hard realities of galactic politics. A turning point, the destruction of the Trellis Enclave. As the war grew more complex, an event occurred that would change everything. Vexor, seeking to destabilize the UGA once and for all, launched a devastating attack on the Trellis Enclave, a peaceful and technologically advanced space station that had long been Earth's ally. The Trellis, who had been instrumental in helping humanity rebuild after the Karen invasion, were caught off guard. Their delicate balance of peace and diplomacy was shattered in a single, catastrophic event. The Trellis Enclave was reduced to rubble, its inhabitants scattered and vulnerable. The UGA, reeling from the loss, declared a state of total war. Vexor's goal had been achieved. He had ignited a galactic conflict that would once again consume the stars. The Starborn, now more than ever, became the galaxy's last hope. Their courage, honed in the fires of past battles, was about to be tested in ways they had never imagined. As the galaxy plunged into darkness, one thing was certain: the war for the future of the galaxy had only just begun. And this time, humanity's greatest test would not just be to survive, but to stand against an enemy that would stop at nothing to bring them down. The iron will of Earth, forged in the fires of battle, was about to face its greatest challenge yet, to defeat a new enemy rising from the ashes of the past. and to prove once again that humanity's resolve could overcome even the greatest of galactic threats. The Galactic War, the iron will of Earth in the firestorm. The destruction of the Trellis Enclave marked the true beginning of the galactic conflict. Vexor's forces, bolstered by his new alliances with the Zorith, Xora, and several other hostile factions, launched a relentless assault on UGA-controlled worlds. The galaxy, once united under the banner of peace, now found itself split into two opposing factions, the United Galactic Alliance, led by Earth and its allies, and the Coalition of Conquerors, a hodgepodge of alien races united under Vexor's iron fist. Humanity, now at the heart of the UGA, was thrust into the maelstrom of war. The Starborn, the symbol of humanity's strength and resolve, stood on the front lines, their fleets of sleek ships and elite soldiers taking the brunt of the enemy's aggression. The iron will of Earth, forged in the crucible of the Karen invasion, was now the guiding philosophy of the UGA as it rallied to defend the galaxy's freedom. The Battle of Cruxus, the turning point. The first major confrontation between the UGA and Vexor's forces took place at the Cruxus system, a strategically important region at the intersection of several key trade routes. The Cruxus system was not only vital for its resources but also for its proximity to the UGA's core worlds. Losing it to Vexor would not only cripple the UGA's economy but also open the door for a more aggressive assault on Earth and its colonies. In the midst of this high-stakes battle, the Starborn proved their mettle, commanded by Earth's finest strategists and led by the legendary Captain Elaine Draven, a former resistance leader who had become one of the UGA's greatest military tacticians. The Starborn fought with a ferocity and skill that surprised even their alien allies. Captain Draven's strategy was simple yet brilliant: divide and conquer. Knowing that Vexor's fleet relied heavily on brute force, she led the Starborn forces in a series of hit-and-run tactics, harassing enemy lines and slowly wearing down their strength. The Starborn's agility and advanced technology allowed them to outmaneuver the larger, more cumbersome ships of the Coalition of Conquerors. But the battle wasn't without its heavy losses. The Zorith, known for their sheer firepower, proved to be formidable adversaries. The Starborn lost dozens of ships in the early stages of the battle, and many warriors gave their lives defending the system. Yet, despite the heavy cost, the UGA's forces were able to outsmart and overpower the Coalition's leadership, forcing them to retreat from Cruxus. It was a decisive victory, and it provided the galaxy with its first real hope in what was shaping up to be a prolonged war. However, Captain Draven knew this victory was only a small reprieve. The war was far from over, and Vexor would soon regroup, learning from his mistakes and adapting his tactics to target the heart of the UGA's power. The shattered peace, civil unrest within the UGA. While the war raged on the battlefield, internal tensions within the UGA began to simmer. The relentless pressure of continuous warfare, the loss of key colonies, and the ongoing sabotage by Vexor's agents within the UGA began to take its toll. The once unified coalition of peaceful species now found itself at odds over how to conduct the war. Some races, including the Trellis, had begun to question whether continued conflict was worth the cost of galactic peace. On Earth, the psychological scars of the Karen War resurfaced. Despite their victory, the memory of their homeworld's near destruction haunted many. Some factions within Earth's government, particularly those with military experience, advocated for an aggressive, no-mercy approach to the war. Others, the more idealistic voices, pushed for negotiations and diplomatic resolutions, seeking a path to peace that would avoid further bloodshed. The Iron Council, the governing body of Earth and its allies within the UGA, found itself divided. Some members called for an all-out assault on Vexor's forces, while others, including the newly appointed Ambassador Clara Shaw, argued for reaching out to the alien factions still wavering in their allegiance to the warlord. Shaw, a respected diplomat who had helped mediate peace during the Karen War, sought to use Earth's influence to bring factions in Vexor's coalition into the fold of the UGA, hoping that the galaxy could be united without further conflict. But Vexor, aware of the cracks forming within the UGA, struck swiftly. Using his spies and infiltrators, he orchestrated a devastating false flag operation that made it appear as though the UGA had attacked one of its own peaceful allies, the Alteran, a species of ancient philosophers and scholars. This act of treachery pushed the already fragile peace to the breaking point. The Alteran, devastated by the apparent betrayal, turned their back on the UGA and joined the coalition of conquerors, strengthening Vexor's forces and sending shockwaves through the UGA. The betrayal sent ripples of distrust throughout the galaxy, fracturing alliances and emboldening the forces opposed to Earth's growing influence. The Iron Fist of Earth, a new era of leadership. In response to the escalating crisis, Earth's government made a bold move. With the UGA fractured and its leadership struggling, Earth's most powerful military commanders and leaders convened to form a new, unified front. The Iron Council, in an emergency session, appointed General Marcus Hayes, a decorated veteran of the Karen War and one of the architects of Earth's resistance, as the supreme commander of all UGA forces. General Hayes, known for his unwavering resolve and his strategic brilliance, was a leader who commanded respect across the galaxy. Under his leadership, the UGA shifted from a defensive posture to one of aggressive retaliation. The philosophy of the Iron Will of Earth became more than just a motto, it was a mandate for all those who fought for the future of the galaxy. General Hayes initiated a sweeping military campaign to reclaim lost territories and restore the unity of the UGA. He focused on 3 key objectives: retaking strategic planets, neutralizing Vexor's supply lines, and countering the growing insurrection within the UGA. To achieve this, he called upon the Starborn to lead the charge in high-stakes, behind-enemy lines missions that would cripple the coalition of conquerors' ability to wage war effectively. Meanwhile, Earth's scientists, leveraging the knowledge gleaned from the Karen and Trellis technologies, had developed a new weapon, the Iron Anvil, a devastating superweapon capable of piercing the strongest shields in the galaxy. The Iron Anvil, however, came with a heavy moral cost. Its power could annihilate entire fleets in a single strike, making it a weapon of last resort. As the war continued to escalate, General Hayes faced difficult choices. The line between saving the galaxy and saving Earth was becoming increasingly blurred, and the Iron Will of Earth was tested in ways it never had been before. The final gambit, the siege of Vexor's stronghold. With the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance, the UGA launched a final, all-out assault on Vexor's stronghold, located in the heart of the Karen Expanse, a previously uncharted and hostile region of space. This would be the largest and most decisive battle of the war, with the Iron Anvil ready for deployment, and the Starborn leading the charge. Humanity's forces prepared for the fight of their lives. In the shadow of Vexor's fortress, where the remnants of the Karen Empire had once ruled, Earth's forces would face their ultimate test. Would the Iron Will of Earth prove enough to overcome the combined might of Vexor's forces and the fractured factions of the galaxy? The last stand, the siege of Vexor's fortress. The fleet assembled at the edge of the Karen Expanse was the largest the galaxy had ever seen. Hundreds of vessels from across the United Galactic Alliance, battlecruisers, stealth frigates, bioorganic ships from the Trellis survivors, and the sleek, angular warships of the Starborn, hovered in formation. At their core stood Earth's flagship, the Dauntless, a living monument to resistance, rebuilt from the wreckage of the old world and now carrying the hopes of a unified galaxy. At the helm was General Marcus Hayes, now a living symbol of the Iron Will of Earth. Beside him, Captain Elaine Draven and Ambassador Clara Shaw prepared for their respective roles in the dual-pronged operation, military conquest and diplomatic collapse of Vexor's coalition from within. Vexor's fortress, built deep within a pulsar-shrouded system once thought uninhabitable, was no mere base. It was a relic of Karen's supremacist architecture, a black spire ringed with weaponized moons, cloaked in artificial gravitational distortions, protected by fleets drawn from the broken empires of the past. Here, Vexor had gathered the remnants of his dark dream, an empire forged through vengeance, held together by fear. The battle unfolds. The siege began with a diversion. A fleet led by the Starborn feinted an attack on the outer orbital stations, drawing out the coalition's forward forces. In their absence, elite infiltration teams, including hybrid units of humans, Trellis tacticians, and defectors from the Alteran, pierced the fortress's perimeter through gravimetric rifts mapped by UGA scientists months prior. The battle in space raged for hours, then days. The Iron Anvil, Earth's superweapon, was deployed once, just once, obliterating a colossal Zorith dreadnought and scattering 3 enemy flotillas. But Hayes refused to use it again. The galaxy, he said, must be won by conviction, not annihilation. Within the fortress, Captain Draven led a ground assault on the central control core, Her unit fought room by room, fending off war beasts engineered by the Xora and neural disruptors designed by the last loyal Karen engineers. The losses were brutal. The battle was personal. This wasn't just vengeance, it was closure. Humanity had come full circle, from victims of subjugation to warriors of liberation. Meanwhile, Ambassador Shaw's team intercepted transmissions within the fortress that revealed Vexor's true intent. He planned not only to destroy Earth, but to unleash a galaxy-wide cascade of dark energy detonations that would collapse UGA-controlled systems into black holes. It was genocide by cosmic engineering. With this knowledge, Shaw initiated the final diplomatic assault, broadcasting Vexor's plans to every species still wavering in the shadows. Some of his allies, horrified at the revelation, defected mid-battle. Others turned their weapons inward, staging mutinies aboard coalition ships. Vexor's empire began to fracture even as the fighting peaked. The fall of Vexor. Cornered in his command spire, Vexor refused surrender. Surrounded by Starborn elites and Draven's strike team, he delivered one last message to the galaxy. You think you've won because you held your unity. I ruled through fear because it is honest. Your peace will crumble under its own contradictions. He died not by plasma fire, but by blade, Draven's own, forged from melted down Karen alloys. His body, incinerated in the fortress's core, marked the end of a war, but not the end of struggle. Aftermath, a galaxy reborn. The death of Vexor triggered the collapse of the coalition of conquerors. The UGA declared victory, but it was a sobered, bloodied celebration. Entire star systems had been scorched, thousands of worlds mourned, billions had perished, but the iron will of Earth had held. Earth, once a symbol of ruin, now stood as the capital of a new galactic order, not of domination, but of balance. The Trellis returned to rebuild. The Alteran issued a formal apology and were re-accepted into the UGA. The Xora, leaderless and disoriented, retreated into their hive worlds to reconsider their future. A galactic charter was ratified, outlawing the use of superweapons like the Iron Anvil, banning the research of extinction-level tech, and establishing safeguards against tyrannies like the Karen and Vexor's regimes. The legacy of the Starborn. The Starborn disbanded formally, their mission complete, but many remained as peacekeepers, scholars, and explorers. Captain Draven retired in solitude on the lunar colonies. General Hayes refused political office, choosing to mentor future leaders in the rebuilt Earth Defense Academy. Ambassador Shaw helped found the Galactic Mediation Corps, a new order of diplomats and peacebuilders trained to recognize and diffuse the sparks of galactic conflict before they could ignite. Statues of steel and holograms of starlight were erected in honor of the fallen. Children across the galaxy were taught the story not of how humanity conquered, but how they endured, resisted, and rebuilt. The final word. The iron will of Earth was never about strength alone. It was about the refusal to kneel, about rising when there was no reason left to, about unity born not of fear, but of choice. In the end, the stars belonged to no one race, but to those brave enough to fight for all. Would you like an epilogue or a visual companion, e.g., map, insignia, or character portraits?